Praise the Lord, my beautiful blessed souls. Back with another word, bruised and not broken. Pay no mind, some a little fur. I know I've been going again. Life is still life. A lot has been going on in my life. I am trying to get it together. Got some issues, like I told y'all. Trying to get my health together. Trying to, got some stuff going on. And trying to get it together because life is life. But we last left off, it was 1 Samuel chapter 21. And now we at 1 Samuel chapter 22, and this normally I would have done it on July the 20th. So it says risk. What kind of risk should I take? And at this time, David, as we can see, is already taking a risk, or he is taking risk. And we're going to look at all of this stuff. What kind of risk should I take? Growth and success occur at some risk. Taking foolish chances is not risk, but stupidity. Risk entails a good goal, a decent chance of achieving it, and a strong dose of trust. Risk is actually necessary if we want to grow in our relationship with God. When He calls you to do something out of your comfort zone, obey at the risk of failing while trusting Him to help you complete what He has asked you to do. When you work in a quarry, stones might fall and crush you. When you chop wood, there is danger with each stroke of your axe. Such are the risks of life. Ecclesiastes 10 and 9, Proverbs 14 and 16. The wise are cautious and avoid danger. Fools plunge ahead with great confidence. Proverbs 22 and 3. A prudent person forces the danger ahead and takes precaution. The simpleton goes blindly on and suffers the consequences. Psalms 91 and 5. Do not be afraid of the terrors of the night, nor the fear of the dangers of the day. Psalms 91 and 5 and Psalms 37 and 5. Commit everything you do to the Lord. Trust Him and He will help you. Now, this what's going on with David. There's a lot. We are going to get into it because it's a lot to cover. Please give me a minute. And you're going to see where this is going. And then I wanted to share with you because, see, Bishop S.Y. Younger just did a great word. And I want you guys to look it up. I am going to post it on my YouTube. Not YouTube, on my Facebook and other stuff. But also you can look me up on Facebook, Instagram, and I'm on Snapchat as well under my name, Tabitha Rocker, and also on Tabitha Rocker Hudson, or Tabitha Hudson, whichever one. And he says staying sane in the assignment. Now, I myself have been dealing with some things with my assignment, with my life, because there's some things going on. And it may take me away from the channel as much as I would like to be. And it's not that, it's something, but it's stuff that I really need to get taken care of. Like I said, one of them is my health, and I'm trying to get some things, answers and some things, taken care of. And it does require me to do other things. I am in training for some stuff at work, and, I still have to work, pay bills, cook, clean, and regular stuff. So, this is a battle, we're going to get into it. But anyway, so now let's get into it. So please don't mind me. When I'm able to put them out, I will be putting them out. I want to get back to eventually every day or every other day. But right now, there's not going to be as often as I would like it to be. And if I get time, I may do it 2 or 3 at a time, and then I may not do none. You see what I'm saying? So just don't mind me, but I need some time. So now, 1 Samuel chapter 22. David departed from there and escaped to the cave of Adullam. And when his brothers and all his father's house heard it, they went down there to him. And everyone who was in distress, and everyone who was in debt, and everyone who was bitter in soul gathered to him, and became commander over them. And there were with him about 400 men. Now you got to think about this. David is on the run. Saul's trying to kill him. He just, left the priest home. He lied to them. We're going to get into all of this so he could get provisions. Jonathan had just told him his father does want to, in their bond. So now when we look at this now, we're seeing what's going on. Now everyone who was downtrodden and in distress, and he had to go gather his family, of course, because once you are a target of someone, then your family is too. So you have to protect yourself and them. And also we're going to get into his actions, because his actions actually, the lie he told, which, this is how life is, ended up costing the priests their lives. But we're going to get into it. So now he has a little army of the people who's banded with him, who are just like him. They're in debt. They're in distress. Saul is on a rampage, so they're banding together. Now, this is a smart move, because a lot of times people do not band together. We need to band. They could say misery loves company. It depends on what they're doing. If they're just sitting around tearing down stuff, then that's not good. But if they're going to be there for one another and band together to create some, different situations, then that's what's going to help. And you got to be careful because people like that in your life, you need those type of people who are going to help find solutions. We need to vent, we need to get it out, but we need to find solutions. So, and David went from there to Mizpah of Moab. And he said to the king of Moab, please let my father and my mother stay with you till I know what God will do for me. So he's waiting on God, of course. And he left them with the king of Moab and they stayed with him all the time that David was in the stronghold. We're going to get into that. Then the prophet of Gad said to David, do not remain in the stronghold. Depart and go into the land of Judah. So David departed and went into the forest of Hereth. Now Saul heard that David was discovered, and the men who were with him, Saul was sitting at Gibeah under the tamarisk tree on the height of with his spear in his hand. And all of his servants were standing about him. And Saul said to his servants who stood about him, hear now, people of Benjamin, will the son of Jesse give every one of you fields and vineyards? Will he make you all commanders of thousands of commanders of hundreds? And that all of you have conspired against me. No one discloses to me when my son makes a covenant with the son of Jesse. None of you is sorry for me or discloses to me that my son has stirred up my servant against me to lie in wait as to this day. Then answered Doeg the Edomite, who stood by the servant of Saul, I saw the son of Jesse coming to Nob to Ahimelech, the son of Ahitub, and he inquired of the Lord for him, meaning asked him to ask God, what he should do. And he gave him provisions and gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistines. Now this has very, we're going to get into that too. It has a lot of meaning because Moab, remember they had issues with Moab, but now Moab, has become, a helper of them. So we got to pay attention to that. Stronghold, we want to get into that. Gad and all of these places that are mentioned, we're going to get into them later because they have meaning. Also, as you can see, Saul is actually trying to intimidate these people. He's lying to them, trying to insinuate he's going to help them when he's not. He's insinuating that David is after him when David is not after him. He's actually after David. So this is a lie he's telling to twist, make people against David. Why? Because he himself is at. See how this happens even in our own lives. But of course, there's always one there that's, doing what they're doing. He's angry with Jonathan, but he himself is in the wrong, but he don't even see it. All of these things because of that spirit that's in him, the jealousy, envy, all of this is in him. So he's after David for no reason. But he in his mind think that there's a reason or reason enough when there's not, besides his own jealousy, insecurity, and all these other things. So then Doeg answered the Edomite. Of course, he is children of Esau. Remember, they would always have issues as well. Why? Because those are, Jacob and Esau had issues amongst themselves. God said he hated Esau, the Edomites, and he loved Jacob. So when you think about these are Israel's children, Jacob's children. So this is, of course, he's one who do not like them. So the enemy will always find someone who do not like you, who has issues with you, and help them escalate, make things more than what they need to be. So he tells what happened. And this is what we're going to see. So then the king sent to summon Ahimelech the priest. Remember, these are all the priests, the son of Ahitub, and all his father's house, and the priests who were at Nob, and all of them came to the king. And Saul said, hear now, son of Ahitub. And he answered, here I am, my lord. And Saul said to him, why have you conspired against me, you and the son of Jesse, in that you have given him bread and a sword, and have inquired of God for him, so that he has risen against me to lie in wait as to this day. So then Ahimelech answered the king, and who among your servants is so faithful as David, who is the king's son-in-law and captive over your bodyguard and honored in your house? See, this is when you tell people the truth about what's going on. You're trying to make this man to be something else, but I thought he's the same one you praised, you worship, you had him on these pillars over, marry your daughter, send him out on all of these, missions, and you're praising this man outwardly, but then secretly this is what is happening. So is today the first time that I have inquired of God for him? He's like, that's not the first time. No, let not the king impute anything to his servant or to all the house of my father, for your servant has known nothing of this, or all of this, or much or little. And the king said, you shall surely die, Ahimelech, you and all your father's house. Now, after he told him he didn't know, all he know of is David came to him, he's thinking because he thought what David told him. Why? Because this is not like, ain't this your boy? Don't y'all get along? Isn't he married to your daughter? Like, what are you doing here? All of a sudden, he's your enemy. Where did this come from? Pay attention to things like this. So now there's such an enemy, there's such this is all of this is going on. So what exactly is going on? Because he gave him provision thinking that y'all are cool. This is what's going on. He thought nothing of it. And this is what David told him. But he told the king the truth. But then it's still, The king is going to show his true heart because he says you're going to surely die. Now remember, these are priests, and it's not just one. We're going to see what happens here. So, and the king said to the guard who stood about him, turn and kill the priests of the Lord, meaning all of them, because their hand also is with David, meaning he sided with them. They sided with David. And they knew that and they knew that he fled and did not disclose it to me. But they just told him what they told him. But see, in situations like this, no matter what you say or do, if this is people's resolve towards you, this is what it's going to be. So you have to pay attention to this. But the servants of the king would not put out their hand to strike the priests of the Lord. Of course they wouldn't, because they know God is going to, you're going to have vengeance behind that. Then the king said to Doeg, you turn and strike the priests. Of course, Doeg. He was ready. He was born for this. This is him. And Doeg the Edomite turned and struck down the priests and killed on that day 85 persons who wore the linen ephod, meaning priests, and Nob, the city of the priests. And he put to the sword both man, woman, child, and infant, ox, donkey, and sheep. He put to the sword, so he killed them all. But one of the sons of Ahimelech, thank God, the son of Ahitub, named Abiathar, escaped. God was allowed one, because God replant. And he fled after David. And Abiathar told David that Saul had killed the priests of the Lord. And David, he had to warn him. And David said to Abiathar, I knew on that day when Doeg the Edomite was there, that he would surely tell Saul, I have occasioned that he would tell Saul that he saw him, so that I have occasioned the death of all the persons of your father's house. Stay with me, do not be afraid, for he who seeks my life seeks your life also, and with me you shall be in safekeeping. So David does acknowledge it. He knew, he had a feeling that something was going to be right. Wasn't exactly sure, of course, but yet his lie to Elimelech ended getting him killed. But it wasn't Ahimelech himself, because he told Saul the truth. But Saul still was not satisfied, because that was his heart. He didn't care what they told him. He was there because he was angry. Whoever was against him, this is what it was. So now, after confirming with Jonathan that Saul wanted to kill him, David fled. He tricked the priest Ahimelech into giving him provisions. David then made a short tense visit to the Philistine city of Gath. David now hides in the cave of Abdullah. He's soon joined by his brothers and all his father's household from Bethlehem. They too have become Saul's targets, okay? Remember, when people target you, they target your children. People who love you will love your children. People who hate you will hate your children. Please, and your whole household, all of your family. 400 men distressed, discontented, and indebted arrive. David suddenly has an army. And to the children out there, please remember, people who love your parents or love your family will genuinely try to do for you. But those who don't, they will do the opposite. So please understand, you are outsiders to outsiders. Your family will be your family. David travels to Moab, to a town called Mizpah. There he asked King of Moab to allow David's elderly parents to stay with them. Remember, there used to be issues with them, until it's safe for them to return home. There may have been family connections there already. Remember, Jesse's grandmother, which was David's great-grandmother, which was Ruth. The Moabites. David finds a new stronghold, but the prophet Gad tells him the Lord wishes for David to return to Judah, meaning don't go back that way. David and his followers settle into the forest of Hera. Now remember, David needs God to be telling him these things. And sometimes this is what being insane in staying sane in your assignment is about, taking risks. But you have to know which ones and how, because God has to be leading you. Why? Because if not, you will make the wrong mistakes. And I'm going to get into this. This is why this message, I want you to hear it, because it blessed my soul, because this was some issues I've been dealing with. Meanwhile, Saul still rages. He insists his servants should reveal all that they know. They won't receive any reward from David, so he's saying, but he's not giving them nothing. This is what people will do. Oh, I'm gonna give you this. Nah. They may tell you that don't mean that. Reward for David for their silence. He's promising them things, or in he's hinting. He's not saying, so we already know what that is. He whines that no one supports him because he's in the wrong, and that they wouldn't even tell him when his son Jonathan betrayed him. Jonathan betrayed him because he's in the wrong, not only with them, but with God. And in these ways, Saul displays his traits associated with paranoid dictators, meaning he's seeing issues where there is none. And a lot of times we will have this. Doeg the Edomite tells Saul what he saw at the tabernacle in Nob. There Ahimelech the priest prayed for David and gave him food and sword of Goliath. Saul summons Ahimelech and the other priests to Nob, and the king accuses Ahimelech of joining David's conspiracy to rebel against Saul. Remember, he is the king. Rebellion against the king is what? Treachery. You can be killed. Ahimelech is caught completely off guard. David had told him that he was on a secret mission from the king, and he was in need of the supplies. So this is why he went along with it. Ahimelech reminds Saul of David's faithfulness and asks the king to find him and his extended family not guilty of the false accusations. Why? Because, why would you say that I would do such a thing? All this time I've been in good service to you. This is why when you see certain things going on, when you've been good to people and then all of a sudden they start acting weird and strange and doing this, backwards stuff because of what this one said, that one did, whatever. And it got a lot of, so you have to pay attention. Because at the end of the day, if David was good to you all this time, so what exactly is going on? Why would I not help David? I've been helping him. He's been going on missions. He's been, the head in your household. And I'm doing it on account of you. So why would I give him stuff in opposite? So when he explained the truth, he still told him he was going to kill him. Why? Because he told him the truth. And a lot of times we think telling the truth helps us. A lot of times it doesn't even matter if the truth is there or not. Some people do not care about the truth. Why? Because the truth is ugly sometimes and they don't like to see it. Saul refused to consider the priest and plead against the sentence of Elimelech and his father's household to death. This is clearly unreasonable. Of course, this is why this is more than just, this is a spiritual situation. Why? Because it then got completely out of control, especially as it is aimed at Israel's priests. Why? The king's guard refuses to follow through on the command. So Saul commands Doeg the Edomite to kill them. Doeg strikes down 85 priests and slaughters the priestly town of Nob, killing every man, woman, child, and animal. One priest escapes. He flees to David as Elimelech's son, Abiathar. David admits he knew that Doeg was at the temple and saw him, and that the Edomite will report, it's a Saul. David takes responsibility for the deaths. Abiathar's family, or at least he realizes that his actions led directly to the carnage. David tells the priest to stay with him under his protection. Now, admitting that he was wrong in lying to him. Not actually having him killed because, of course, but because he knows this is a result of his lies. See, we don't realize people get put to death because someone lied and said that they did something that they didn't. They destroy their lives, their reputations, all kind of stuff. We have to be very, very careful when we are doing things like this. And this is why God said he doesn't like slander. He doesn't like all these things because of this reason. Remember, Emmett Till was killed. Why? Because someone lied on him. They lied on him and he ended up being killed for something he didn't even do. And we have a list of innocent bloodshed. And it's sad. And when we think about the world and all that's going on, honey, my mind has been in overload. My heart has been in overload. My spirit has been in overload. So staying sane in the assignment by Bishop S.Y. Younger is going to make a lot of sense. And this wrist thing. David had an army now. An army of the people who band with him, who was just distressed, oppressed, exploited by who? Saul. So now he has a priest who can tell him God's will also, which is what he needs. So God allowed that. He begins his career as a loyal mercenary by defending the city of Keilah from attacking Philistines. Next, David's army faces Saul for the first of 4 times. All 4 times the 2 armies part without engaging in battle. Why? Because Saul, he also knows that although he wants David, he knows God is with David. So he knows that if he do something to David, although he wants to, he knows God is going to come after him now. He may get the satisfaction, but he may not live to tell the tale. Okay, let's get on. Okay, so now, okay, come on, let me go into this because I wanted to get into the full breakdown. I want us to really, so now, let me go back. So much to get into here. Okay, let me go back. There is so much. Okay. 1 Samuel chapter 22. Now, we're going to look at the natural and identity and spiritual identity. David, he's a fugitive hiding from Saul. He gathers distressed and indebted and bitter people in a 400-man group. This is going to become the new army to go against who? Saul and whoever else. Why? He's battling for the Lord. Remember, he's spiritually prototype of Christ, gathers the broken, rejected, and wounded into a future army to fight. To fight for who? Those who are oppressed, those who are against God. This is what this is about. And when we look at our lives and we look at the people who are there, who gather and band with us in those times, we need to pay attention because, like I said before, a lot of times we don't pay attention to the ones who are actually there, and we treat them totally terrible. Now, I'm not going to say we're not supposed to love our enemies, do well to our enemies. No, we're not. We're not supposed to curse them, hate them. But at the same token, God gives us wisdom to handle them appropriately. Now, spiritual prototype of Christ. Emotionally, he's leading while hurting, carrying fear, responsibility, and pressure. This is what I've been dealing with. This is why this staying in the assignment means so much, because a lot of times David is going through all of this in his own life, but yet he's still fighting for the Lord, for others. And this is what we don't see. It is hard to come on here and you have your own stuff going on in life. And no matter the claps or the likes or the shares, because what are we doing this for? We're doing this for the Lord. Are we reaching people? Is God, is it growing? Is people getting, blessed by it? Is the content, and it's not just from a natural level, meaning me. It's God, am I doing what you want me to do? All this. And sometimes we get, like, I don't even know what's going on. And then I'm having my own stuff. Mentally, strategic, discerning, listening to prophetic instruction. So this is what is going on with him. Physically, he is exhausted, displaced. He's living in caves. He doesn't have provisions, or he's, having a, when you're in fight or flight mode all the time, this is what this looks like. Remember, he's in strongholds. He's in battle. Remember, we were talking about people whose lives are full of battles, and David's life is one of them. People get tired, the long suffering. Financially, he's surrounded by men who are in debt. No stable income, relying on God's provision. And a lot of times that is very burdensome when you are usually the one that has to bear people and get finances and all of these things together to make do, to make, and if God calls you to be that burden bearer, you in your own strength get tired. And you are the one carrying and no one else is paying any attention and trying to help ease the burden off of you and take up some of the slack. This becomes a problem while you get drained. The enemy loves situations like this because this is the time he will drag you. A lot of times he can't stop your blessings, but he can hold them up, delay them, and have you always fighting, always in circles, and all these type of things. Stagnated, in fear, you're paralyzed. So this, and he plays with your mind. So we're going to look at this. Family protects his parents by sending them to Moab. Remember, family and children. So also, why? Because when you are under attack, there is no off limits, okay? In the spiritual and the natural, we got to pay attention to this. Why? Because when you are under attack, spiritually and naturally, so is your family. So that could look like, like I said, at times I was sick. My son was in jail, in and out of jail for stuff he didn't do. He was accused. All these other things was going on, and I have had a lot of stuff going on all of this time. It's just been so much for so long. So when you saw that last one, long suffering, this is what I'm talking about. And then even my own self, my hair falling out, my issues with my health, and I'm still, because I already had health issues, trying to get it together. So this is what I'm talking about. Government, God's anointed king is in waiting, contrasted with Saul's corrupt rule. So although David is anointed to be king, he's still not king. And this is the transition. This is where the battle is the strongest. This is when it's the most going on. And, the enemy is fighting. He does not want David to take the throne. So this is what this battle is all about. Delay, stagnation, the wait. And this is where the long suffering is all of this time, because he wants them to give up and be defeated. And a lot of times this is to wear you, the enemy will wear you out, have you in battle for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Do you understand me? This is not nothing. This is not an overnight battle. You see what I'm saying? This is not your average regular roll of the mill thing. So we have to pay attention to these things. And that's what the strongholds are. Now, church represents God's chosen leadership. Protects priests, aviator, right? Why? Because have to have at least one. David needs someone with him. He has his army, and he needs someone who goes directly to God to be able to speak to him, to help with him, to do the things that they need to do as far as sacrifices. Because God, he's in battle. He's ceremonially unclean. He's not the one. His assignment is not to be the role of the priest. So the role of the priest, and this is why we have to pay attention to our roles, our assignments, and whatever it is God calls us to do. Stay in our lane of what God called us to do, and not be over in somebody else's lane. Social and culturally, it attracts marginalized people, becomes a symbol of hope for the oppressed and exploited. And when you are a person who is that, and you attract that, because that's what these are difficult, damaged people, because you yourself are difficult and damaged. You are complicated. They're complicated. This is not easy to love difficult people and complicated people. And when you yourself are difficult and complicated, then more than likely you're going to be sent to those who are difficult and complicated. This is what this is. Saul, in the natural, he's current king, he's paranoid, he's violent, and he's unstable. We see that with the ones we got in right now in this world doing the same thing. Spiritually represents corrupted leadership, flesh-driven authority, meaning power-driven and, controlling and all of this. And a lot of people, whether it's your husbands, your bosses, you will see this. Emotionally, they're jealous, insecure, and enraged. Mentally, they're delusional, conspiratorial thinking, meaning, and physically, they're powerful but spiritually deteriorated. Financially, mismanages national resources, taxations, pressures, create indebted citizens, meaning they exploit and oppress. And this is what this looks like. And we see this to this day. And when you look at both, companies and how they treat their employees or how, they treat the people that they serve, we see that they don't care. It's not about none of that. It's about the dollar. So this is what this is. Now, family alienates his own tribe by killing the priest. Ooh. And this is what they do. The innocent, the priest, the holy. If we look at it, this is what Satan does. He loves to kill the innocent. Doesn't matter. Priestly, innocent, did nothing, told the truth. Those are the ones that get fired, that get mistreated, just think about it. Pay attention. Government abuses power, commits state-sanctioned murders, and all these type of things. Right. They don't mind calling justice, injustice, justice. And you know what I'm saying? And vice versa. Because they deem it to whatever is beneficial to them. Church slaughters priests, symbol of attacking God's order. So this is another thing. Don't mind murdering them, whether it's in, the pulpit, off the pulpit, whatever. And the ones who are really out there trying to do something, those are the main ones that they're really going after. Socially, culturally creates fear in culture and destroys trust in leadership. So this is what this looks like. And that's so. Now the 400 men are distressed. They are in debt and discontented. Why? These are the exploited and oppressed people. Why? They are naturally outcast. They are marginalized and oppressed. They're exploited. Right? Anything for $1. Spiritually, the symbol of God is gathering the broken to build a kingdom, right, of their own, away from what is already going on. Emotionally, they're bitter, wounded, and traumatized. This is where the difficultness comes in. Why? Because it's hard to service difficult people. Bitter, wounded, traumatized. And that's even within your own self, because you have your stuff and then you have to push aside what you got going on to help others. So, mentally delusioned with Saul's leadership, right? So, Saul's in, some of them may think he's wonderful, some of them may not, but this is where we are. At one point, he was a good leader, but he's lost his way. Physically poor, hungry, and unstable. Financially crushed by debt and economic injustice. We see this each and every day. This is the majority of the world today. Family, many likely displaced or disconnected, but they had sense enough to band together. This is what I love about these people. They weren't against each other. They band together with the person that they knew. Instead of banding against him, they band with him. They're all in the same situation. Let's get together to make this situation better. So when they talk about, misery loves company, it depends on the ones who are in the misery. Because some people who are in misery, they want comfort, but they want answers, solutions. They want things to get together and fix these things. So church represents, government are the victims of Saul's failing administration. So that's basically what that is. Whoever's in there and up under him, a lot of times we see when people in power, they go along to get along. Why? They don't want no issues. They don't want to be the outcasts. They don't want to be the ones that's the targets, because usually those are the ones that go through the most issues. This is what this is. The church represents people who need spiritual leadership, of course, because, when it comes to true leadership, even with this throne, there's a battle for it. Because although God wants David, Saul doesn't want to step out of the way to let him go. Why? But that lets us see that Satan in him that's battling, opposing God's choice. So, or his own self in the natural. Ahimelech, priest of Nob, now knowing when it's time for him to go. He's priest of Nob. Naturally, he's an innocent priest who helped David. Spiritually, he represents purity, innocence, and God's order. Governmentally, he was wrongfully executed by Saul. We see this over and over again. Church, he symbolized of the priesthood under attack. Exactly, because there's no respect for it. Social and culturally, it represents religious persecution. Exactly. Now, Abiathar, the surviving priest, naturally, he escaped Saul's massacre. And he joins David. Why? Because God had to have one alive. Why? Their bloodline needs to go on. He's going to replant that seed. Spiritually, it represents God's continued guidance, priestly lineage preserved. Exactly. Church, it connects to David's priestly authority, that side of him that, God gave him, that is still, although he's a warrior, he's still a priestly warrior, meaning a godly warrior. So what he's doing in battle is not for himself, it is for God. It's God's will. Now, Doeg the Edomite. Naturally, he's Saul's servant, but he's a betrayer and he executes priests. Remember, he's an Edomite, Esau's children. Remember, these are Jacob, Israel's children, so they always had issues. Spiritually represents demonic assignment, betrayal, and corrupted loyalty, of course. Government, weapon of Saul's tyranny. Church destroys God's servants. This is what this is. Places, natural geography and spiritual symbolism. The cave of Adullam. Naturally a cave in the Shephelah. It's a hideout for refugees. Spiritually is a place of transformation. God forms leaders in hidden places. Emotionally is a safe space for the broken, meaning this is like the church supposed to go and get healed. Mentally is a reset location and clarity emerges. Why? Because you can't heal in the same places that you were broken in. Physically, dark, cold, and uncomfortable, right? No one wants to be there, but for this time, we have to. Because at times you have to be broken and die and be replanted to grow back. Something new. Oh, plus you have to die. Financially, no resources, meaning survival mode. This is what we see. Family, David's family gathers there, right? Governments outside of Saul reach. Church symbolizes of early church, gathering of wounded believers. Socially and culturally, margins of society, they become centers of destiny. So this is what this is, but we need to see this within our own lives, within our own families, even on our jobs. Wherever it is in our lives, we need to be seeing, instead of being against one another, working well together to make a better outcome, a better solution. Moab, naturally, he's foreign nation. David sends his parents there. Spiritually, he symbolizes an unexpected refugee. God uses outsiders. Remember that I said that before. Family, David protects his parents. Why wouldn't you? This is what you need to be doing. And your children and anyone tied to you. Culturally, he ties to Ruth. So David's great-grandmother, remember Ruth, the story of Naomi and Ruth. When they went back and they were able to rejuvenate, this bloodline. Why? Because Christ is going to come from it. No, it's a natural city of priests. So this is where the priests were. Spiritually, it represents holiness and God's order. This is why this was such a disrespect. Saul knows he's out of order for this. Government, Saul destroys it. Symbol of corrupt power. He's against God. Church, priesthood attacks spiritual leaderships and he threatened them. The forest of Hereth, naturally, it's the region in Judah. David moves there by prophetic instruction because that's going to be his safe place while God is doing what he's doing. Spiritually, God directs even in hiding. So we have to pay attention. Why? Because we can be at our lowest and God is still doing things. The things, meaning objects and symbolic meanings. The spear, Saul's, his natural weapon and symbol of authority. Spiritually, it represents violent leadership, fear, and intimidation. The bread and the sword that was given to David earlier, naturally, they're provisions and protection. But spiritually, it's God supplying the needs even in the times of crisis. This is how we be like, oh, I don't know how I made it, but God made a way even though I was with nothing. Themes and meaning across all of this. Spiritual meaning, God gathers the broken to build a kingdom. Hidden seasons produce leaders. Corrupt leadership destroys itself, yes, from within. Also, God preserves priestly lineage, Abiathar. And also divine protection in exile. Mental meanings, trauma creates bitterness. Yes, anger, fear, all of these things fall into that category. The 3D men are distressed, they're in debt, and they're discontented. Leadership requires clarity under pressure. Saul's paranoia shows a mental collapse. This is what we're talking about. Because mentally, when you're going through a lot, yes, the breakdown, and this is how the enemy gets you. Mentally, he breaks you down. He has battle after battle. This is what this is. Why? To tire you, wear you out so that you stop, you won't move forward, you will just throw in the towel. Emotional meanings, David carries fear, responsibility, and grief. Outcast find belonging. Priest suffers unjust violence. Abiathar experiences survivor's guilt, of course. Physical meaning, the caves, they equal discomfort but survival. We see ourselves in these situations a lot of times. Priests are massacred, physical consequences of spiritual corruption. David is constantly moving, meaning he's physically exhausted. When someone's after you, can't stay in one place. I don't know how drug dealers and stuff do it because I cannot have people just after me constantly like that. And even in the spiritual realm, this is when you are consistently under attack in different areas, because just because no one's after you physically doesn't mean mentally, emotionally, and financially and spiritually they're not after you, because you will find that in the other ways, and we're going to talk about that. Financial meaning, men in debt join David. Economic oppression under Saul, right? Going against him. David has no stable income. He has to rely on God. This is where those times where we don't know how we're going to make it. Saul's mismanagement creates national instability. Why? Because he's just in it, like I said, most this is what this is. In power, just spending frivolously, don't care, just lavishly, no sense of nothing, because it's all about fame, praise, who likes you, who don't, content, comments, likes, subscribing, whatever, who's hot, who's not. This is what it is. Is it about God? Is it about reaching people, the souls? Is it about making, meaningful decisions for yourself, asking yourself, are you doing it your way? Is it God's way? These are the questions. Family meanings. David protects his parents. Saul destroys families and priests. Outcasts likely separated. They're separated from their families. Government meaning. Saul represents abusive, paranoid leadership. David represents righteous, future government. There's massacre at Nob is a state-sanctioned religious persecution. Just like we see now, people all over the world are doing what? You see it in the world right now. These things are happening. Church meanings. Priesthood is attacked. Abiathar joins David. God's presence shifts from Saul to David. The cave becomes a spiritual community. So they're gathered there, protecting one another, and they're worshiping God. He's, letting him lead them. Social and cultural meanings. Marginalized people become mighty warriors. Leadership shifts from corrupt elite to righteous servant. Culture of fear under Saul versus culture of hope under David. Why? Because that's Saul, Satan versus God, The chapter's core message right here. David is hiding, but God is forming a kingdom. Outcasts gather, but God is forming an army. Priests are killed, but God preserves the remnant. Saul is raging, but God is removing him. David is waiting, but God is preparing him. This is all in preparation. This is why I'm like, this long suffering, because, honey, we ain't even got to the half of it. David is going to have that spear in his hand for a long time. Even when he gets in the throne, it's just battle after battle. We're going to see. This chapter really, I feel like it mirrors my life. I'm in a cave season. I'm surrounded by distress, debt, discontent, waiting for the next chapter for my move, protecting my family, my children, dealing with corrupt environments, and being shaped quietly for my next level. So when you're in transition, there's a lot of things going on. Now, I wanted to look at the past, present, and future thing, meaning people, meaning, and risk, past, present, and future. David, meaning he's naturally a fugitive, but he's a leader in hiding. That's the opposite. So in the natural, he's a fugitive because he looks like he did something wrong. They're after him, trying to kill him. But in all actuality, he did nothing wrong. And we have to pay attention to that because this is what happens. But he's just a leader in hiding. Spiritually, God's chosen king in formation. Emotionally, he's carrying fear and responsibility, heavy responsibility. Mentally, he's strategic under pressure. Financially, he's broke and displaced. Socially, he gathers the rejected. Risk. His assassination by Saul, meaning his character. Betrayal by informants. Emotional burnout. Leading wounded men while wounded himself. This is what that looks like. Past, present, and future. Past, he was a shepherd. He was overlooked, but he was anointed secretly. Present, he's hunted. He's hiding. He's forming a remnant. Future, he will be king. He will be the restorer and the builder of a nation. Now, Saul, meaning natural king, he's in decline. Spiritually, he's corrupted leadership. Emotionally, he's paranoid and jealous. Mentally, he's delusional and unstable. Governmentally, he's abusing his power. Risk, and he's not listening to God on anything. Risk, self-destruction. He's destroying innocent people. He's losing God's favor and collapsing the nation. Past, present, and future. He is the past. He was chosen. He was humble. Present, he is violent, paranoid, and murderous. Future, he's being removed, replaced, and his legacy is going to be destroyed. The 400 men, they are distressed and in debt, discontented, meaning naturally they're society's rejects. Spiritually, they're future warriors. Emotionally, they're bitter and traumatized. Financially, they're crushed by debt. Socially, they are marginalized. These are the people, that are just going through it. Risk, they're turning on David, bringing chaos into the camp, emotionally unstable and lack of discipline. So this is what's going on amongst them, because when you have a lot of stuff going on, this is what it will be. Just like in Moses' time when he was trying to help lead them, they were the most, when you're trying to help people who are like that, difficult and traumatized, and they are, complicated, there's going to be a lot, because he himself had that. So he's called to that. So now he has to deal with his own stuff and that. Past, present, and future. Past is broken and oppressed. The present is gathered and forming identity. The future is mighty men and nation builders. Abiathar, he's the surviving priest, meaning natural survivor. Spiritually, he preserved the priesthood. The church is, the continuing of God's order, meaning he's going to continue the church. Meaning the priesthood, like God wants him to. Risk, trauma. He has a lot of trauma. He's being hunted also, and he has lost a lot of his priestly lineage as far as his family, his other priestly family, his siblings, his father. They all were slaughtered. Past, present, and future. Past, he was a past priest in Nob. He presents a refugee with David. Presently, future, he's a high priest under David's reign. Doeg the Edomite, meaning he's naturally an informant. Spiritually, he has a demonic assignment. Why? Because we can tell whenever they're doing this, stirring the pot. Governmentally, he's a weapon of tyranny, and this is what this is. Risk, corrupting leadership, and destroying innocent lives. This is what they do. Past, present, and future. Past, he was a servant. Present, he's a murderer. Future, he's a symbol of betrayal. Places, meaning risk, past, present, decay. Oh, no, I already did that. So now, what I wanted to look into... Okay, what I wanted to look into was bloodlines, because at one point we were really talking about the bloodlines, and I was looking into the bloodlines because I wanted to know, about the bloodlines. So I'm gonna go over a little bit of it. We may get further down the line into it. I can't do much because I see my time. I've been it's been a lot that I've covered so far. And I just want you to pay attention to this. We have to pay attention to all the symbolisms. We have to pay attention to all of what is going on in this story. Why? Because staying in the assignment itself, keeping your own self right while you're helping others, because you cannot help anybody mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, or spiritually if you yourself cannot carry. This is what this is about. When you are chosen and called to lead, and you may have the longest battles, you may have to go through the most. I wanted to know what strongholds was. So I was going to put that in here, but I wanted to look at the bloodlines, because bloodlines, should I even go into it now? They mean a lot. You know what? I may do this. I'm going to briefly do it, and then I want to go over it later on down the line. I may do an in-depth one on the bloodlines, because we seem to think some things, but a lot of things we thought were true are not. And we're going to see, hold on one second, because I have been doing some, okay, I got to get up. Okay, the bloodlines. Okay, bloodlines. Okay. Bloodlines. Okay. I'm trying to go all the way back, because when stuff come up, it'll be like, okay, bloodlines. All right. Okay. Bloodlines. Okay, I am still not there. Okay. Remember, he was given the sword, which was a symbolizer of his first battle with the Goliath thing. They really didn't know that David lied. Lying did cost them. Pay attention to those things. I want to get into the stronghold. At one point, David did play crazy. His mind, I'm quite sure he's dealing with a lot, especially when dealing with strongholds. Remember, a lot of these battles, most of them are in the mind first anyway. Remember, we talk about the thoughts, habits, patterns that become cycles. And this is what this is about. And staying sane while all of this is going on is very overwhelming at times. That's why people say up, down, in and out. Sometimes that is, the case when you are dealing with a lot and still trying to be there for other people. And if that is what that's part of your ministry. And ministry is not just, here we go. Ministry is not just coming on here. No, ministry is at work. Ministry is everywhere I go. Why? Especially when you security and you deal with, difficult people who have been homeless, or people who have, mental illness, addictions. That is why, because there's a certain you have to have for people when you're dealing with these type of people. Okay. I'm almost there. Okay, because I was looking at the bloodlines and why Satan was so interested in bloodlines and what they mean and what they carry and all of this. And this is what, okay, okay. I'm going to get into it a little bit because this is only D2 and I don't want to get too far into it. Okay, I asked what was the meaning behind bloodlines and on types. And this is what I got. In scripture, bloodlines and types are not about physical superiority. They are about spiritual assignments, patterns, and callings, and the role and lineage plays in God's story. Some bloodlines carry warfare, some carry worship, some carry leadership, some carry rebellion, some carry the prophetic way, some carry covenant, some carry conflict, some carry healing. It's not about their worth, it is about their purpose. This is the assignments, right? So the bloodlines equal spiritual assignments. Now, in the Bible, a bloodline is not just a family tree. It is a spiritual assignment passed through generations. This is why his bloodline. So we're going to look at it. Example, King David bloodline is what? Kingship, worship, warfare, and the Messiah. Levi's bloodline was priesthood, sacrifice, and holiness. Judah's bloodline was leadership, praise, rulership. Benjamin's bloodline was warriors, tension, and conflict. Eli's bloodline was priesthood that fell. Saul's bloodline was leadership that collapsed. The Philistine clans are opposition, warfare, and intimidation. Each bloodline carries a role, not a rank. So now, bloodlines are assignments, not hierarchies. Bloodlines equals patterns. Now, for every biblical bloodline carries patterns. This is repeated behavior, strengths, weaknesses, and tendencies. Now, this is why I was looking at this and why I said stay insane, because a lot of this is already in your bloodline. You don't really know it. So we have to pay attention. I want to get into this further one day. I will do one. But right now, I just wanted you to look at it because we were talking about patterns in people's lives, and we were talking about why certain people's lives look the way that they do. David line, his physical and natural or spiritual bloodline, this is what is in it. And this is why this is what is going on. David's line has worship, warfare, leadership, emotional depth, and prophetic sensitivity. Saul line has insecurity, jealousy, instability, fear, rebellion. The Philistine lines has intimidation, idolatry, territorial aggression. So these patterns explain why certain people face certain battles. Now, patterns reveal purpose and the battles that it come with. This is why. Bloodlines equal spiritual territory. Bloodlines in scripture often represents territories of influence. Now, David's line, territory of worship, kingship, covenant, prophetic destiny. The Philistine lines, territory. Okay, now why bloodlines equal destiny types? David is the warrior worshiper type. He fights, he sings, he leads, he suffers, he rises. Saul is the fallen leader type, chosen, insecure, jealous, and collapsing. Jonathan equals the covenant friend type, loyal, protective, and prophetic. The Philistines are the opposing force type, resistance, intimidation, and spiritual conflict. So this is explain why certain people show up in your life the way they do. They represent spiritual roles. So this is why the Edomite did what he did. Why? Because he was already at war with that bloodline. Okay, this is why he didn't mind turning on him. It was already in him to turn on him. He didn't like him in the first place. He couldn't stand that family. Right. Bloodlines equal generational battles. Some bloodlines carry long battles because they carry long assignments. Now, David's bloodline, long warfare, long leadership, long prophetic weight, long generational influence. Saul's bloodline was long insecurity, long instability, long decline. The Philistine bloodlines were long opposition, long territorial conflict. So, long battles belong to bloodlines with long destinies. Bloodlines equal generational blessings. Some blessed bloodlines carry long blessings because they carry long covenants. Now, David's line was an eternal throne. Why? Because it was the Messiah's. Remember, it was worship and legacy. The Levi's line was priesthood, temple service, and spiritual authority. Abraham's line was promise, land, blessing, and multiplication. So blessings run through bloodlines the same way battles and curses do. So we got to pay attention. Now, bloodlines equal spiritual responsibility. Some bloodlines carry more responsibility. So they face more pressure. David's line is responsible for Israel's worship, responsible for Israel's leadership, responsible for prophetic fulfillment. So this is why David's life is full of battles. Why? Because his bloodline carries kingdom responsibility. So, responsibility attracts warfare. This is why I like it. This is why some people just have to carry all the weight. It is annoying. I do not like it. I promise you don't. Bloodlines equal spiritual opposition. Some bloodlines attract more opposition because they threaten darkness. David's line threatens idolatry, oppression, exploitation, demonic intimidation, territorial spirits. So his life is full of giants. This is why. Big battles. Not nothing small. It's always a major situation. Nothing minute. The smallest thing be magnified. Spears, betrayal, warfare, and survival. Opposition reveals assignment. So, I wanted to look at also natural bloodlines and what they mean. Natural bloodlines, patterns, assignments, and doors. These are authority, identity, and destinies, right? This is where the bloodline determines influence, inheritance, and future generations. Now, Satan does not have a bloodline. This is what we author all the 13. No, he does not. He has kingdoms, systems, and patterns, but no lineage. This is what this is all about. Natural bloodlines and what they mean in the natural. In the natural world, bloodlines carry 1, age, genetics, physical traits, health tendencies, strengths, weaknesses. Culturally, they have traditions, values, behavior, and identities. C, family patterns, emotional patterns, relational patterns, financial patterns, and behavior cycles. D, inheritance, resources, trauma, blessings, and opportunity. Natural bloodlines shape how a person thinks, behaves, relates, survives, and grows. Now, natural bloodlines create the starting point of a person's life. But spiritual bloodlines and what they mean in the spirit. Abraham's bloodline, right, was covenant, promise, blessing, and multiplication. Levi's bloodline was a priest, holiness, sacrifice. Judah's bloodline was kingship, rulership, Messiah. David's bloodline was worship, warfare, leadership, and prophetic destiny. Saul's bloodline was insecurity, instability, and collapse. Philistine bloodlines was opposition, intimidation, idolatry. Spiritual bloodlines carry calling, warfare, generational assignments, generational blessings, generational battles. So, spiritual bloodlines determine what you fight and what you carry. Now, how your natural bloodlines tie into spiritual bloodlines. This is where natural patterns become spiritual doors. This is what it is. If a family struggles with fear, addiction, poverty, anger, instability, and rejection, those patterns can become spiritual footholds. When we talk about strongholds and stuff, this is why. Natural strengths become spiritual weapons. If a family carries worship, leadership, creativity, resilience, intelligence, and compassion, those become spiritual gifts. Now, natural trauma becomes spiritual warfare. Why? Because trauma opens wounds, fears, insecurity, and vulnerabilities. These become spiritual battlegrounds, right? This is what Satan uses. Natural blessings become spiritual inheritance. Blessings open favor, protection, opportunity, and destiny. These become spiritual platforms. Now, the natural world sets the stage. The spiritual world determines the script. Why Satan is so vested in bloodlines. This is why the heart of our question. Satan attacks bloodline because bloodlines produce generations. If he corrupts one person, he affects children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Usually he goes after the ones that are going to do the most. Because by getting that one person and keeping them down, out with nothing, that one person rising will bring everyone else. This is why certain ones go through more than the others. Because their influence, they're not going to carry that weight. He don't care about those ones. Because if he's going to strike, he wants to strike and hit many at one time. Influence, bloodlines shape communities, cultures, and nations. So this is what this is. Identity, if he confuses identity, he weakens destiny. What do we see all over the world? These people who are all over looking like they are for us and are not, put before us to so-called influence us, have us living, eating, doing everything that they're claiming that this is what, but it's not, right? It's of the world. Identity, if he confuses identity, he weakens destiny. Not knowing who we are and whose we are. Why? Because if we look at everything in the world and we're the opposite, we think something's wrong with us. But we're going by their standards and not God's. This is the problem. Inheritance. If he disrupts inheritance, he disrupts future impact. Why? Because if you can't leave nothing, if you can never get yourself together enough to leave anything behind, all of the future generations are going to struggle. This is what this is about. Calling. If he attacks a bloodline with the calling, he delays kingdom advancement. This is why some people he do not want to ever rise. Their life, financially, mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, and spiritually is always under attack. Why? The moment they rise, what they carry in the generations behind them rises with them. Patterns. If he embeds patterns, he creates generational cycles. This is what this is about. Trauma and all of that. This is why he got to get them. Doors. If he opens spiritual doors through trauma, he gains access. So Satan attacks bloodlines because bloodlines create legacy and legacy creates kingdom impact, which is direct attack on his kingdom. Why? Because he can't create bloodlines. He has no bloodline. Remember, Satan is not a human. He's an angelic being. This part is most people misunderstand. Satan does not have a bloodline. He is a created being, a fallen angel. He is a spirit. And these are all the demonics that's walking around. They have no flesh. They're spirits without lineage and without reproduction. They don't eat, sleep. They do eat, but they eat us. We're the dust. Remember? Pay attention. The curses, they will eat the dust. Who's the dust? We come from dust. When we ashes to ashes, dust to dust, from the ground we came from, the right. And this is why they want to eat us. And pay attention. Create children. He cannot create children, produce generations, and pass down DNA or form a family line. So what does he have instead? He has kingdoms, systems of influence, patterns, cycles of behavior, strongholds, mental, spiritual structures. This is where the stronghold come in. Assignments, attacks against destiny. Alliances, fallen angels, and demonic forces. Satan's bloodline is not a lineage, it is a system. Satan doesn't have children. He has patterns. Why Satan attacks human bloodlines? Because human bloodlines produce worshipers, leaders, prophets, intercessors, generational breakers, kingdom builders, destiny carriers. Satan attacks bloodlines because he cannot create his own. He cannot reproduce. He cannot generate legacy. He cannot produce destiny. He cannot form inheritance. So what does he do? He tries to corrupt, confuse, weaken, traumatize, destabilize, and destroy. And this is what he's been doing. The bloodlines that God has, that this is what he uses against God, his own ones, right? So, and the ones that God uses. So when you see people trying to do well and they can't, this is a great sign that they're under attack. So Satan attacks what he cannot create. Anything that is of God, he does not want it. He will consistently attack it. Always under attack. Okay? And this is a mental attack, emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual attacking. Okay? You, your family, your friends, your business, your money, your physical health. Right. This is what that looked like. So, I was looking at even the natural meanings, scientific and biological, spiritual meanings. Now, natural is the scientific and biological. The A, B positive, negative. The A positive. The B positive, B negative. O positive. RH factor. All of this. So, natural meaning is scientific and biological. Spiritual meaning is patterns, symbolisms, generational implicators. Why the enemy is invested, where Satan fits in this and doesn't. Now, part 1. Natural blood types A, B, or O, the natural, right, are determined by the antigens on your red blood cells. A type has A antigen, can receive A and O blood, produces anti-B antigens. B type has B antigens, can receive B and O, produces anti-A antibodies. AB type has both A and B antigens, universal recipient, produces no antibodies against A or B. O type has no antigens, universal donor, produces both anti-A and anti-B by antibodies. Natural meaning blood type affects transfusions, pregnancies, immunity, organ capability, medical risk factors. Spiritual symbolisms is A equals assignment. People who carry A often carry responsibility, structure, and leadership patterns. B equals breaker. People with B often break norms. They shift patterns and disrupt generational cycles. AB equals a bridge. AB people often connect worlds, families, and or spiritual assignments. They carry duality. O is equal origin, is a universal donor. These people often carry foundational roles such as generational weight and spiritual influence. Not destiny, but patterns. So the positive and negative RH factors. RH positive has RH antigen, most common, can receive positive and negative blood. RH negative has no RH antigen. They are rare and can only receive important in pregnancy. Now, we talked about the rhesus and the different types like the apes and all of that. Look it up for yourself because you will see more and more of what it goes into when it comes to what type, if it's animal, human, and all of that. Natural meaning RH negative mothers need medical protection during pregnancy to avoid complications. Spiritual symbolism, positive equals presence, symbolizes carrying, holding, receiving, and absorbing. These people often carry emotional and or spiritual weight for others. Negative equals purity, separation, symbolize set apart, rare, distinct. These people often walk unique paths, feel different, and or carry unusual assignments. Again, not destiny, but patterns. Why blood types matter spiritually? Not because of superiority, not because of race, not because of mysticism, but because blood is symbolic. Blood equals life. Blood carries oxygen, nutrients, immunity, healing, cleansing. Spiritually, It is blood symbolizes covenant, identity, inheritance, generational patterns, and spiritual covering. Now, natural blood carries physical life. Spiritual bloodlines carry generational life. Why? Satan is invested in bloodlines. Satan does not have a bloodline. He cannot reproduce. He cannot create children. He cannot pass DNA. So he attacks human bloodline because this is what he do. He takes what we have and he alters it because that's what God created. He can't create. He's not the creator. So this is what it. So when we look at Talmuds and we look at the Muslims and what they believe in, what even the Catholics, the Catholicisms, and all of these different religions, pay attention to what they practice and what they be. Really delve into what they are practicing because a lot of them are practicing Satan worship, whether they know it or not. Bloodlines reduce generations, right? If he corrupts one person, he affects children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. The bloodline carries the patterns. He wants to embed trauma, addiction, fear, poverty, exploitation, oppression, poverty, instability, rejection. Bloodline carries assignment. He attacks families with leadership, worship, prophetic calling, and generational influence. Bloodlines carry covenant. He tries to break marriages, unity, identity, inheritance. This is why they twist and they lie everything. This is why they have you being the bad guy all of the time, no matter what you do. No one supports you. No one likes you. You ain't did nothing to nobody, but you, why does this happen? Right, that's why. Bloodline, because there's no natural reason, so it's a spiritual thing. Bloodlines carry spiritual doors. He wants access through wounds, trauma, sin, and generational cycles. So Satan attacks bloodline because bloodline create legacy, and legacy builds the kingdom of God. Where is Satan's bloodline? He does not have one. He is a fallen angel. He is a spirit. He's without flesh. He's without DNA. He's without reproduction and without lineage. This is why people have to be careful when they're dealing with this demonic stuff, because they are not human. You cannot kill them. So because you cannot, when you're conjuring and you're doing all this stuff, once you bring them here, because they want you to do that so they can take on you. Once they come into you, you no longer are in control. Remember, this is a spirit. And they can hop in and out when they feel like it, right? Remember, but they don't have their own flesh, and this is what they are after. This is why you're so important, because you have the flesh and you can operate in the flesh. They cannot. Now, he has systems unless you allow them through you as the vessel. He has systems, patterns, kingdoms, strongholds, and assignments, but no bloodline. So what does he do instead? He uses the traumas and the cycles, the generational curses, spiritual wounds, culture patterns, and emotional dysfunction. Satan doesn't have children. He has patterns. How natural bloodlines connect to spiritual. Not literally, not mystically, not genetically, but symbolically and pattern-wise. So when we see these things, okay, we have to pay attention. I didn't want to get too far into it. You could leave. I went into transfusions and all these other things and all, maybe the health stuff. Maybe I'll get into it another day. I didn't even want to get this far, but because I just had to, like I said, when we are doing these things, because honey, when I tell you, it's just been a lot going on in my own life, and I have so many questions, and I'm asking, God to help me with my own stuff, and then trying to help you guys with whatever and bring it to you. And I'm asking him, is this me? Is this you? Am I doing what you want me to do? Am I producing what you want me to produce? And then sometimes it's not about me, because it's not me. And sometimes I'm fighting battles I shouldn't be and going up against things. And so I want you to listen to, what's his name? Bishop S.Y. Younger. It says, staying sane in the assignment, and you will understand what I have been going through. It is a lot. I have a lot of my own stuff. Like I said, my hair, I'm doing stuff different with my hair. There's reasons for everything. I'm not doing the wigs and stuff anymore. I was having issues with my hair falling out, all kind of this stuff. So like I said, these are signs. And then people pay attention to what's going on in their lives and their bloodlines to help, skin stuff, stomach, and issues. And I've already had stuff going on with my, body. So like I said, it's not just one area of your life that you can be, in attack, or, it could be spiritual, natural. It could be a mixture of the two. So you have to pay attention. It could be your job. It could be your family. It could be your friends. It could be, and it affects other areas of your life, your finances, your health, your this. So pay attention, because battles in a sense, it's not just fighting, someone. Battles is all these. If you're fighting your health, that is a battle. Why? Because your body is fighting against itself. That is a battle. You are fighting. You see what I'm saying? To survive whatever it is that's trying to kill you. So don't think when we're talking about these things, if you're being financially always under strain and duress, that is a battle. Something's fighting your finances. If you can't have relationships, that is a battle. You know, if every relationship you have is not a good one, that is a battle. Something's there, something's wrong. Whether it's your bloodline, you, whatever it is. When it comes to influence, people loving you, rejection, all of these things are battles. Being accepted, people, wanting to help you and be sent to help you, and people sent to destroy. Those are battles. You see what I'm saying? Whether it's a stronghold, whether it's a giant, a pharaoh. It's so many principality, power, whatever it is. Okay. This is what this is like. So staying sane in the assignment and not taking on and being overwhelmed and letting God do his part, and asking God to help you in the times when all this is going on. Because I'm telling you, he will wear you out. He will tire you out. He will have your health, your hair. He will do some things to you that will have. But we have to, ask God to help us to give us strength. And sometimes we have to take a step back away and just relax ourselves. Especially when we're trying to pour into other people. We're dealing with their stuff along with ours. It does become a load. And we're not God in our own lives, let alone in other people's. So we have to learn when to step back, when to chill out, let people do what they're doing. Like I said, this journey that I'm on, with my health, because health is wealth. You cannot have ministry or do anything if you're not healthy. You have to be strong, and by battle meaning physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually strong, healthy, in order to be in battle. And when you're in constant battle all the time and you're always worrying for finances or mental health or your emotional health or your physical health, and you're always at battle, and it's not just you, it's your finances, it's your family, it's your friends as well, guess what? That becomes a lot. And when we look at these strongholds, principalities, why? Because a lot of times you're being fought because of the ones who are coming after you, because of the impact you're going to make, and whatever. But it can't be about the likes, the comments, the subscribe. It cannot be about the world and what's going on, because it's so, when we look at the world, I have to decompress because it's too much. They're killing Christians, Trump's acting crazy. You got them killing folks, these little young people, so much wickedness is going on. And we already know, with the food, with the this, with the that, and trying to figure out how to just stay sane within your own self and with your own life and handle your own stuff, because ministry starts at home, and then being able to move forward and go outward. So, like I said, you can't pour from empty cups. And wherever you are, you're ministering to people, whether I'm at work doing security and, they got issues and problems I'm serving them. I have to put aside my own stuff. If I'm on here trying to, give a word and help you, in your own life, and to share whatever it is that I'm going through so that it can help your life, this is the same thing. So, we're bruised and not broken. Be blessed in Jesus' name. I hope that this word was a blessing to you. I am going to continue. I'm not going to rush myself. I'm not going to kill myself up. Like I said, I have stuff that I'm dealing with, and I'm going to try to get to it as often as I can. If you're rocking with me, you're rocking with me. There's so many videos actually on this channel that you can go back from the beginning and just kind of go for the times that I'm not posting and just, listen to them. They may be something in there that I already spoke about, I already covered, that God gave to me that will be a blessing to you. But please, for the life of you, staying sane in the assignment. Go on YouTube, Bishop S.Y. Younger. Look that up, because that's one I had to myself pinpoint it and save it for myself. For the next time something is going crazy, and I feel, because it's not a one-time thing, people. Remember, these are patterns, habits. These things have to be broken in time. They're not going to happen overnight. Healing and journey, all of this is over time. It's not going to happen overnight. So I love you guys. Bruised and not broken. Be blessed in Jesus' name. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And I hope that this word was a blessing to you guys. And just bear with me. I love you all. In Jesus' name, amen.